Right, we are back with a replacement board, exactly the same model as the one going out, because to be honest, this is probably one of the most sensible Z490 boards to be buying at the moment. The Asus Tough Gaming series is a really good mid-range place to be at the moment, and that's the thing. I call it mid-range because it's not the ROG Strix or anything. However, the thing about the Asus Tough boards is they have something that is very close to or identical in terms of VRM as the ROG Strix boards. They have really stunning VRM setups on them in a board that costs just slightly above the mid-range price. So it's kind of a case of like the rest of the board is nothing really exciting. It's got mediocre audio on it. It's got a couple of M.2 slots. The RGB is but you know. However, if you buy one of these, you can't go wrong with it. That's the thing about it. Like when someone is speccing up their computer and they say, "Oh, can you check over the spec of my computer?" And I'm like, "Okay, what motherboard are they using?" If I see Asus Tough Gaming, I'm just like, that motherboard will be fine. You know. Now, obviously, if they're looking for specific things like RGB and stuff, I might say, you might be better off going with the ROG Strix one because that's going to have more RGB on it and stuff like that. But if it's in terms of just they need it to work, buy a Tough Gaming and it will work. So, sensible replacement. Now, I am going to bench test this because obviously we still don't know that the CPU is not broken. I'm 99% certain that the CPU will be okay because, as I've said before, it's never the CPU, except when it is. However, I really doubt it's the CPU. But we're going to bench test just in case because it would suck to get this computer built back up only to find that the CPU is toast. So we'll stick that in there. And just to keep everyone happy, I'll let the thing pop out. There we go. Beautiful. Doesn't actually make any difference, but whatever. Cool, right, that is in. And we've got their SSD to fit, but that can wait. We're also going to be going in with some Corsair Vengeance memory. The customer has purchased a 16 gig, kit. 16 gigs of memory to go in it as well, which is also very nice because, you know, when we took out this 11 stuff, it was like, oh, blimey, that'll work. But yeah, it's not the best memory. This is very much holding you back. All right, and let's power on and show me that post. CPU, DRAM. DRAM's gone out. Looks like it's power cycling. Boot. There we go. That's what we should see. And there's our signal. Beautiful. CPU works just fine. Memory's in there. Lovely. And because we're here and we're on a bench setup, I'm just going to plug the other memory in just in case. I did test other memory when I was working on it previously, but I'm going to plumb the other memory in it just for good measure, just to make sure that posts as well. Yeah, that's posting as well. So the Levin stuff, it wants a mem test to make sure it's okay. However, we've no reason to believe there's any problems with that memory at this point. So it's crap memory, but it would be perfectly fine for use in like an office box or something like that, where, you know, breakneck performance is not important. Pair it up with an i3 or something like that and it'd be fine. Okay, right. I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull everything out from here because we've still got bits that are holding on in various places. So let's trim everything out. Take the back cover off and just unplug everything, and then we're just going to replumb all the cables. Yeah, this is Corsair doing their cheeky non-IQ fans again. I've seen this. Yeah, I saw this on one of Corsair's other cases recently. When this case first came in, I thought it was a 220T, just with a different front panel, with the spec style front panel. But it's got Corsair RGB fans in it. However, they're all with ARGB headers, and it's got a tiny, cute little ARGB fan hub in it. And I'm not a fan of that because the thing again is that this is not compatible with iQ, which defies the point of Corsair RGB in my opinion. You know, if you don't have iQ, then what's the point? So I'm a little bit sad about that, but whatevs. I'm sure we can make it all work. Right, is this free? This is now free. Good. All right, let's pull that out. On the plus side, it does mean that we can tie the third-party CPU cooler fans with the Corsair fans. So it actually works better in this instance, but I don't know. Now here we go. So here we've got an ARGB. No, that's. Oh, that can be either analog or digital RGB. Interesting. It's a 4-pin RGB 3-way splitter. That's I'm not sure which that's for. This guy here, that's definitely an ARGB one because it's got the 3-pin header on it. I'll have to take all of this apart and make sense of what's actually here. Right, I'm going to lay this down and get the motherboard in first, because then I can see where all these cables go. I'm going to take this opportunity just to clean up a couple of smudge marks where there's some thermal paste, which happens. Thermal paste gets everywhere when you're doing diagnostics, so I'm just using a little bit of glass cleaner just to clear that up. In fact, I think I'm better off with the alcohol on that. Just squirt some alcohol everywhere and we'll just wipe that down. Now watch me put a whole load more smudge marks there when I actually fit the CPU cooler again. Okay, right, motherboard. Let's have a look. So I want to check that the screw holes are all in the right places. So I'll just offer that up. So, top left, yeah, top middle, end one, middle row, bottom one there, and one there. And just make sure there isn't one hiding there. There is not. Good. All right, that's ready to go in. So, because we've got a Corsair case here, the middle standoff sticks up slightly, so that just clicks into the motherboard like that, and that's just wedged in place. So I can get all of the motherboard screws plumbed in now. Pro tip, with your zip ties, just fold the end of it in half like that, so it gets a little hook in it. And then it makes it easier to thread that through an eye without it going through the case. Could have had the HD audio on that loom. Doesn't matter. Now this case doesn't have very much room on its back panel, so I think that is about as thick as we can go on this loom. I need to be careful how many cables I stack here. Most cases would have a bit more bulk behind, this one doesn't. We have got a bit more room if we move up toward this direction, but not by much. So this guy here, this is the system fan at the back of the case. So I fed this through to the back. However, now I'm going to post that back into the motherboard tray area. Now this is zip tied back here, so it's kept all of the excess of this cable behind the motherboard tray, out of the way and out of sight. So now I'll post that through, and if we swing this round, so this guy will typically go to one of two places. It's either going to go to along the top of the motherboard somewhere, or in this case, it goes to there, just above the first PCI Express slot. So what I'll do is I'll pull that through, and I'm going to tuck it behind the VRM heatsink. And I'll plug that in. And then again, I'll pull any excess back through the top. And now we've got that fan connected and the cable's completely invisible. Right, let's sort the rest of these wires. So we've got a legacy Molex chain that is plugged in because This ARGB hub here runs off Molex. The thing is, I haven't found anything that's actually connected to this boy. Oh, that's right. The water cooler fans do. What's on those? Yeah, you know, I think this guy is purely here to power the RGB fans on the water cooler if you've got no ARGB output on your motherboard. It does have an in header, so presumably you could provide an in signal for it, but we don't have the cable for that. Maybe it came in the box for it. Either way, I'm going to leave this guy disconnected and I'm going to wire everything up to the motherboard, which I believe I can do. Yes, we do have an ARGB header on the motherboard. So I will, however, leave this powered up just so it's available for use. But I'm not actually going to use it. So we'll leave it plugged in because we can. And we'll stuff that lot back into the power supply enclosure. Go away. Be gone. Right, what's that? That is PCI Express power. So that's going to pop out of the middle of the power supply enclosure for our graphics card again. And finally, we've got a SATA chain. Now I'm going to move this. I'm going to move this 2.5-inch SATA SSD down to the hard drive bays, because that means instead of having to have a SATA chain stretching from here to here, we can just put this single SATA chain there, and that means we won't have a cable going across like that. So I don't like these personally. I get what they're there for, and if you've got like 2 3.5-inch drives already, then obviously you could use these. However, personally, when you're using a drive setup like this, I think it makes more sense to fill up your 3.5-inch base first, because it's a lot easier to bury cables in this hard drive cage. Right, that's that. Now let's sort out the front RGB fans. So first thing I want to do is separate out the fan cables from the RGB cables. Okay, how are we connecting the fans? Oh, we're not is the answer to that. We need a splitter for this. We've got 2, 4, 6 ports on the motherboard. But no, how does that not work? Yeah, we've got 6 ports on the motherboard, but we've got 6 fans plus the AIO pump, which so 7 fans effectively. So we're short 1 port, so we're going to need a splitter. I'm going to have a root around and see if I have a fan splitter anywhere. Is this one right in front of me? I think it is. It is. I'll use this one. So I've plugged in this 3-fan splitter into chassis fan number 2. Chassis fan number 1 is halfway up the motherboard, so we're not going to use that one. That one's plugged into the rear fan. And I shall plug in the 3 fans. So this is a 4-pin splitter, but that's fine. You can use 3-pin splitters on it just fine. And it will just hook in the correct wires. The splitter is not intelligent. It just plumbs in wires. So if you leave the PWM pin unconnected, then it won't do anything. And the way these splitters work is only one of these headers will have the speed pin actually connected. So it will take the speed reading from just one of the fans and use that as the reference for all of them. So obviously if one of these fans stops, you wouldn't know, but they're on the front, so you'll see. So it doesn't matter at all. And that's important because if you didn't do that, you'd have 3 fans sending a speed signal to one header, and that causes the header to usually think that a fan is spinning at about 30,000 RPM. It's very funny when it happens. Okay, let's see if we can cable tidy this. So when dealing with wires like this, I want to try and length match them. So I'll put all the ends together and pull it back to a point. And I'll just gather. To be honest, that's fine. I don't mind a little bit of looping there, and I'll zip tie them at the end here. And I might take these on a tour around the case actually, just to bury the cable excess. because I want to try and direct things away from this area, because this is where all the big heavy power cables are. And this top area of the case, you don't use it very much, and it's underrated for use as a cable dump. So I'm going to use it as a cable dump. Right, let's just mock up the fit for that. I would like to have it in this way around. Just carefully rest that on the motherboard. Get all these fan cables clear. That's going to go somewhere about there. And that will allow us to put the pump about there. That's what I'm aiming for, I think. So let's see how it looks if we flip that radiator over and have the hoses go the other direction. I think that might work better. That works significantly better. Yeah, we're putting them that way around. In which case, I've got to rotate those fans again. So let's pull that out, rotate the fans, and we'll get that mounted up. So to facilitate holding this back plate in place while I actually attach the water cooler, I shall get a bit of masking tape and I will place it thusly. We'll take that off in a minute. Now I can flip it over and lay it down on its side without that back plate falling out of place. Okay, let's get 2 screws in place just to locate things. First one in. Second one in. Now I can just rest that and get the 3rd and 4th screws in place. And then we'll settle it. Haven't tightened any of these, we're just getting things in place. There we go. Right, now all 4 screws are in. I'm just going to make sure that everything is perfectly centered. We're aiming for the middle of these adjustment holes, which we've got. Let's screw it down. And I'm just going to go round and round on these, just so we go down evenly. In no particular order. And we're going all the way down to the stops. The source of the tension on this hold down mechanism is in these metal arms. Those will bend down to apply force. So we're just taking these screws all the way down until they stop turning. We don't need to tighten them or graunch them. When we get down, we just turn them down until they stop turning. That's it. That's it. That's some. Good. And are we clearing the back fan? We are clearing the back fan. That's a little bit by the skin of our teeth on the back fan, but it's fine. An inch is as good as a mile. Right, now we're going to go upright and just sort out these wires coming from the pump head, and we can get everything plugged into the right place. And now that's all on, we'll just remove my bit of masking tape at the back there. There we go. Okay, so now we've got a new bundle of cables coming out from the top here, and we've still got our front RGB cables here. Now, one thing I've noticed, these front RGB fans are 4-pinners. These are not addressable fans. They're non-addressable or analog RGB. So that means that all of the LEDs must be the same color. So like older RGB. So that also means that we're not going to be daisy chaining them to the water cooler RGB like I thought we would. To be honest, that's probably a good thing because I wasn't keen on the idea of having 5 fans coming off of a single motherboard ARGB port anyway. I was going to try it and see if I could get away with it, but it's not ideal. So what we're going to do instead, we do have 2 analog connectors for RGB. So we can still plumb these guys into the analog header by way of this splitter that we've got for it. And then the ARGB stuff will daisy chain these 3 devices together because we've got 2 fans plus the pump head, and we'll put that onto the ARGB header on the motherboard. We've got some fans to deal with first, so I'm going to deal with these fans because those are not RGB related. We've got a 3-pin header for the pump, and then we've got 2 4-pin fans. 2 4-pin fans are going to go to the CPU and CPU optional fan headers at the top of the board, and then this guy is going to go over to chassis fan 1, where we put in the rear fan. There's another header above that specifically for AIO pumps, so that's where this guy will go. That AIO pump header, it's just the same as a normal fan header, it just has a different label on it. However, on Asus motherboards, those AIO pump headers also appear in a different location for fan options as well. So although it's functionally identical, it's just labeled differently. And I definitely needed to have plugged these in before I screwed the radiator in, because it's going to be fresh hell to plug these fans in because the headers are behind the radiator and fans, and I can't get my hands back there. I could poke cables through, but I can't possibly get my hands in there to plug stuff in. I'm going to see if I can do it with tweezers through the top panel first. So here are the 3 digital or ARGB fan headers. So there are 2 fans and the pump head. Now, because these are Y splitters, these aren't. I use the term daisy chain loosely because we're going to connect one to the next. However, this is not a true daisy chain because we don't have an input and an output here. We're just splitting onto the next one. So all the fans receive the same signal. Whereas with the true daisy chain, you would have an input, LED chain, then output, which means all of the fans would appear as a single long string of LEDs, which would allow you to sequence. So you could have a chase effect going through the fans. That's not what's going on here. We're just repeating here. So every fan receives the same signal. So if you do a ring on a fan, the ring will go around all the fans at the same time. As opposed to having ring, 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 you have all of them ring at the same time kind of thing. So this is a very simple setup. So I'm literally just going to hook these guys up together. Like so. So we've got them all connected up, and then that guy's going to plug into our motherboard, and this guy stays blanked off, and that's just the end of the chain basically. And now, as we've seen with other cases, you end up with a very annoying bit of wiring to tidy up. So I'm just going to see if I can do anything with this. So like I did with other cables, I'll bunch them together and just try and pull these up at the same point, and then I'll sort of try and pull these back and bundle them so we end up with a single loom. Yeah, two things around there, and I think that will do it. I'm trying a slightly different tactic with cable tidying for this build. I've been very aggressive with zip ties, as you can see, far more aggressive than I normally am. And I think it's going okay. I don't like just putting in a million zip ties on computers. However, I'm coming to the conclusion that ultimately it is the best way of actually achieving a tidy cable finish. So yeah, not a fan of this method, but it seems to work. So, and now we've got to do the same treatment with these guys. These guys are a lot simpler. We've just got a three-way splitter. So I've just got to match up the arrows. And then there's an analog RGB header down the bottom of the motherboard. So I'll get that plugged in and then we'll tie this back as well. There we go, that is all tied back. So there's spaghetti around the sides there. However, it is all tied to everything. Nothing is flapping about, so I'm content. I think the back cover is going on. Let's see if it'll fit on. Yeah, we need to do a little bit of squish just to press that down, but that's okay. That'll squish. So both arms on and press. I don't like having to squish panels on. However, with this case, with so little space behind the motherboard tray, that was kind of inevitable. $1660 graphics card. Can't remember if this was a Super or not, but still, nice mid-ranger. And we are rebuilt. I'm very happy with the finish that we've got here compared to what it looked like when it came in. Now granted, when it came in, it was in a diagnostic state where cable tidying was not the priority, making the thing start was the priority. However, I think the customer is going to be very, very happy when they see this now. This is definitely one of those classic cases of customer spent all day trying to build the thing and trying to get the wretched thing done, and it ended up being not quite what they hoped and dreamed. However, hopefully they're going to come in, see that and be like, that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted when I bought all of this stuff. This is what I wanted to end up with, kind of thing. So let's plug it in and make sure it works, obviously. Power at the back. Go. Right, everything is lit up. Yep. Is that a power cycle? Third time lucky. It posted. Woo! That was, those were some really vicious power cycles. Like, when it was cutting out for those power cycles, it was giving a really nasty tick. And the fans were sort of going, ugh! And I was like, oh, that's a really vicious power. Like, that's not just a silent off-on. That was a proper, oh, I'm cutting out kind of power cycle. Ooh. However, 3 cycles and it started, so no problem. Right, our RGB is all doing what it's supposed to. So, as you can see around the front, we've got our 3 Corsair analog RGB fans that are just doing RGB. And then in the middle of the computer, we've got the Golden Field AIO there, and that has got and we've got ARGB on the front of that as well. It's a lot easier to see IRL. However, trying to get a camera shot of that AIO is very, very tricky. All right, and we're going to go XMP enabled. So DDR4 3000, no problems. And I think that's all we need to do here. Can we do anything with the RGB from here? No, we can only just switch on and off. To actually change any colors, we need to go into software, which I probably won't do in this video. So we're into Windows, and I've got the Asus AuraSync software installed, which is now part of Armoury Crate, but whatever. So now we're in here, we can customize the RGB however we please. So right now it's just on the rainbow effect, which just does as many colors as it can on all channels. Alternatively, if we switch to color cycle, that gives us the full RGB spectrum, but as you can see, it's synchronized across all the devices. And then we've got all the other usual suspects. So we've got the breathing effects, where it just fades in and out. And we can also just static and put it all on white as well. So this is obviously now infinitely customizable to whatever the customer wants it to be. So for now, I'm just going to leave everything on rainbow, and then we'll leave it up to the client to set that to be whatever they choose. But the point is, they can now choose whatever they want it to be. And past that, we're all finished with this one, so it's heading back out the door. Thank you very much for tuning in, everyone. My support links are in the description down below for my Twitter, my Patreon, and my Discord, or stick around for the end card to see them there as well. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks a lot. Bye for now.